Well, with that, I will call the committee chairs meeting for the Tennessee Board of Regents to order on this pretty early winter morning, although I guess we've got some warmer weather in store too, which will be nice. Welcome to everybody who's joined. Thanks for taking the time. And as you know, this is kind of our preview, if you will, of what we'll be hearing more of and taking action on at our upcoming December meeting. Of course, we are being live streamed, recorded, as Mariah just said, and this will be archived on the TBR website. So with that, Secretary Perry, if you are ready, may we call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Since
Thank
this
you.
is an electronic meeting, there are 2 questions that need to be answered by regents for the record. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both questions. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. When I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. Governor Lee, Regent Bradshaw,
Yes, yes.
Regent Branscombe,
Yes and yes.
Regent Burdine,
Yes to both.
Regent Davis,
Yes to both.
Regent DeWitt,
Yes to both.
Regent Gentile, Regent George, Regent Harrell,
Yes to both.
Regent Harriman,
Yes to both.
Commissioner Holt, Regent Kastner, Regent Powers,
Yes to both.
Madam Chair Reynolds,
Yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds, Regent Richardson,
Yes to both.
Regent Spurgeon,
Yes to both.
Regent Stevenson, and Regent White.
Yes to both.
Madam Chair, your board is assembled.
Terrific. Thanks again. Well, Chancellor, you have just a few things going on. Anything you want to highlight for us this morning before we move into our reports?
Absolutely. I'll take just a moment to highlight some of the things that have been happening in the last month. First of all, I would like to mention the TBR Nuclear Workforce Summit that was held October 28th. I want to thank Regent Branscombe and Regent Richardson for attending. Hope that they found it, beneficial. I feel like it was a great meeting where a lot of good information was shared. We had presentations from the nuclear history side. People came and presented to us on how nuclear actually started in Tennessee. We had a good industry panel that was made up with people from Oak Ridge, Energy Solutions, and UCOR giving us great information. We also had some of our K-12 partners there letting us know what was happening in the K-12 side. And then what we called a lightning round of people within our system telling us about what they were currently doing in the nuclear space, with a great wrap up with Jeff Sisk. So thanks to all that worked hard to put that on, to Teresa Duncan for her good work in planning that. It moved quickly. It was a good day. Next, I'd like to just give a tiny recap of the November 6th governor's budget hearing. As Regent Reynolds has already told me, I went a little long because I had a lot I wanted to say that day to the governor and to the team. We've got a lot happening, but one of the most exciting things I was able to tell them at the budget hearing is the great increase that we've had in enrollment, 6% at our community colleges and 14.2% at our technical colleges. And again, whenever you see a legislator or the governor, thank them. That 14.2% is a direct result of the buildings that we've been able to open so far across our technical colleges, allowing for more space. Couldn't have done it without the money that they have infused. I also talked to them about the $38.5 million in reoccurring funds that we're asking for the budget, 18.4 in non-reoccurring. This is to be across system-wide requests that we have. I've talked to them about the $472.1 million to expand our workforce capacities at our community colleges. And then also about some special initiatives that we have going on that are actually in place to change the lives of Tennesseans. I talked to the governor's group about our foster youth program. It's called Foster Kids Forward, that we are going to be implementing in TCAT Knoxville in January. And this is to connect foster youth to high demand careers through technical training and mentorship before they turn 18 and age out of the system. So our goal is to make sure that we are helping them prior to. We also talked about the Correctional Education Initiative, which is now in 19 programs all across our colleges. We are serving all of Tennessee in that area. Really excited about the numbers that we're going to be able to add in January with the addition of a new iPad initiative going on there. And then also talked briefly about the Middle Tennessee Healthcare Alliance, which is a collaborative among colleges, TCATs, and our healthcare employers to address the critical shortage there. And then finally, we reported that all of our capital projects are on time and on budget, with ribbon cuttings happening next week. There'll be 3, and I think all of you've received that information. Would love to have you if you can attend. Would like to remind everybody that we do have our sunset hearing coming up on November the 19th. For those of you that are new board members, if you are not aware, but I had been in the job about 2 weeks when they told me that I had to go present for the sunset hearing, and if I didn't do a good job, there was a chance they would shut the agency down. If that doesn't get your attention when you think that they might shut you down, that was not the case. They kept us going, as you're all aware, and I feel hopeful that they will do that on November the 19th when we go before our sunset hearing then. 5 years ago, we had the process, which was a full audit. This year, they're not doing a full audit. They're just doing a Q&A review, which is good for us, that we don't have to go through the entire process. I do want to thank Secretary Mariah Perry, Executive Vice Chancellor Fox, General Counsel Lapps, and Mike Batson for the work that they've done in completing all of the responses. And again, we will have that session on November the 19th. And finally, I'd like to mention that I think most of you are aware that we did have a retirement announced. Dr. Andy White submitted his intent to retire from Cleveland State as of last Friday. Dr. Ray Brooks graciously agreed to come back and serve as interim president. Again, for newer board members, you may not know that he did that for us the last time we had an opening there. So he was a familiar face to the college. While this is a very sudden retirement, we were glad to be able to put his leadership back in place very quickly. The search for the next president, I'll bring that criteria to you at the December board meeting for your approval, and we will begin that search as soon as possible. Madam Chair, that just completes my brief update for today.
That's a very good report and all good news. So, and I think Kim's going to build on some of the things you just mentioned in terms of some of our initiatives. So thank you for laying the groundwork there. Any questions or comments for the Chancellor? Hearing none, then we will move on, but I do need to pause momentarily. Regent George, welcome to the conversation, and you know the questions Mariah needs to ask you.
Regent George, can you confirm that you can hear and speak with us and that you are alone in the room?
Yes to both questions.
Thank you. And Regent Kastner has also joined. Good morning, Regent Kastner. Can you also confirm if you can hear and speak with us and that you are alone in the room?
Yes to both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks to you both. Thank you, Mariah. With that, Kim McCormick, I think you have a couple of updates for us on the external affairs side of the House.
I do. Good morning, Madam Chair, Chancellor Tidings, members of the board. I do have 2 updates to preview with you all this morning. First, we'll talk about the Foundation for the College System of Tennessee annual fundraising report. At the December board meeting, ABC Chris Perkins will present the 2025 Foundation for the College System of Tennessee annual fundraising report. The report will include an informational update on the giving totals for the 13 community colleges, the major gifts received during fiscal year 25, a look at the foundation's growth over the last several fiscal years, and scholarship totals distributed in 2025 as compared to years in the past. Chris will also provide a snapshot of all the companies represented by the members of the foundation and the executive board. And I can tell you that list is growing. We're getting some great new members, and Chris is looking forward to that presentation to you all in December. The next thing, briefly, I want to talk about is the Tennessee Works update. Now, as you all know, we have previewed this with you before, but at the most recent governor's conference, Governor Lee announced Tennessee Works formally to the entire state. So what is Tennessee Works? Tennessee Works is a statewide workforce initiative led by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. Its central hub sits within the Department of Labor and operates as a single point of contact for connecting employers to a full suite of the state's workforce development services. Tennessee Works convenes multiple state agencies and partners, including TBR, to streamline employer engagement and deliver customized, data-informed workforce solutions. So who is involved in Tennessee Works? It's a collaborative involving the Department of Labor, as I mentioned. They're the lead agency, and again, they're the hub. ECD, Economic and Community Development, THEC, the Higher Ed Commission, us, TBR, the Department of Ed, Department of Human Services, the regional workforce boards, and local partners. So these agencies work together to ensure alignment, accountability, and responsiveness to meet the needs of all the employers who interact with Tennessee Works. Okay. I want to go through this slide, which actually belongs to Tennessee Works, to kind of talk through the priorities. So Tennessee Works will serve as the collective brand for the state for connecting the employers to all of our Tennessee workforce-related services and for delivering that customized workforce solution to the employer. It will support the employers who are focused in on the governor's driven special projects and initiatives that meet the following criteria. So for a company to be able to be served by Tennessee Works, they have to have these three criteria met. High growth and competitive wage jobs with strong industry demand. They have to have an increased investment in the key sectors based on the State Workforce Board and the governor's priorities. These include, but are not limited to, manufacturing, logistics and distribution, automotive, sustainable energy, and information technology. And then third, they have to focus on hiring, retaining, and developing skilled talent pipelines. So what Tennessee Works will not do is replace or override interagency processes that are already in place. It will not create new bureaucracy, duplicate existing workforce efforts, nor disrupt the strength and effectiveness of local partnerships. So what it will do is align those agencies around shared workforce goals, make it easier for businesses to navigate workforce services, and lift up and scale local teams with tools, data, and communication, and finally integrate and amplify local success stories. So that is where we sit with Tennessee Works. Now, as Chancellor mentioned earlier, the Tennessee TBR Center for Workforce Development Summit was held recently on nuclear energy, and that is one piece of the puzzle that TBR is doing to meet the needs of Tennessee Works. It was a proactive meeting to start energizing our folks across the system. And if you will now, I would like to turn everything over to Dr. Sis so he can go into a little more depth on the Workforce Summit, the wonderful Workforce Summit that we just held recently. So Dr. Sisk, are you out there?
I am. Thank you, Dr. Tiding.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry,
you.
Dr. McCormick. And good morning, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor, and members of the board. Sorry about that, Dr. McCormick. Next slide, please. Yes, the external affairs team, the entire external affairs team put on the TBR Workforce Summit for Nuclear Energy. It was held October 28th at Run State's Oak Ridge campus, which is a fantastic facility. If you ever get a chance to swing by there, check it out. I highly encourage you to do that. We had over 110 attendees, including every TBR college's leadership, staff members, TBR staff, invited local regional leaders, Chancellor mentions some of our K-12 partners and a lot of our industry partners in the nuclear sector as well. Chancellor also mentioned Teresa Duncan. Teresa, if you're not aware, she's the Vice President of Workforce Development at Round State Community College, and we recently put her on a dual services contract and appointed her as our Nuclear Workforce Strategy Officer. She was the host, she was the MC. She absolutely knocked it out of the park. She's great to work with. Next slide, please. The Chancellor opened up the summit with a welcome and discussed the purpose of the summit, which was to explore the economic impact of Tennessee's nuclear renaissance. And we are truly undergoing a nuclear renaissance right here in Tennessee. We had a lot of insights from Oak Ridge experts, how AI is reshaping the industry, engaging with leading companies, including Orano, TrisoX, Type 1 Energy, and Ucore. We had a panel on workforce strategies and a lot of discussions about the supply chain for nuclear and the educational assets and programs that we need to support that. The epiphany and one of the takeaways and we wanted to make everyone aware of is that the nuclear jobs, the nuclear industry, while centered in East Tennessee, the nuclear supply chain and the supporting jobs stretches across the entire state. And so we had some great information there. Speaker McNally was there. He welcomed everyone to the campus and welcomed all the attendees. And he spoke about the importance of the nuclear industry, not only for East Tennessee, but again, across the state and our nation. Next slide, please. So the two highlights of the summit. On the left there, you see Dr. Stephen Streifer. By the way, it's a coup to get the Oak Ridge National Lab director to show up and to speak at your event. So I appreciate Teresa doing that. He delivered remarks entitled Artificial Intelligence, Its Impact on the Future Workforce and Its Reliance on Nuclear Energy. It was a fascinating lecture. I feel like I should have an honorary PhD now in nuclear engineering after listening to Dr. Streifer. But he has a knack for discussing complex subjects and explaining them in a way that even lay people can understand it. And Chancellor and Dr. McCormick mentioned the panel discussion. That's the pick on the right there. Teresa's emceeing and handling that panel. It was facilitated by Bill Tyndall. He's the president and CEO of Omega Technical Services. It included leaders from ORNL, Orano, Ucore, Energy Solutions, and Barnhart Crane and Rigging. So the takeaway quote from that panel discussion really resonated with everybody in the audience. I think it was the ORNL rep. He said, I need just a few PhDs in nuclear engineering and physics. He said, but I need 300 electricians. So that was just a tremendous statement, very impactful that we did it. So it was fantastic event, well attended, and like the Chancellor said, it was just a very quick day, informative day, and fantastic. We got a lot of fantastic feedback. We're following that up with a follow-up summit meeting tomorrow internally within External Affairs, and then Teresa, Dr. McCormick, and I are meeting with Chancellor first week in December to talk about the next steps in our nuclear workforce strategy. So I'll pause there, Dr. McCormick, and hand it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sisk. If there are no questions, Madam Chair, that concludes our preview.
Anything for Dr. McCormick this morning?
Yes, I had a question.
Please, sir.
The jobs are considered in high growth. Healthcare was not mentioned there. Is that one of them, or will it be one of them?
Well, if you see what it said on the slide, it is not limited to just those that they have named. They intend on growing, and I have no doubt that healthcare will definitely be added to that list.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chair
Anybody
Reynolds.
else?
Yeah,
Yes.
Chair Reynolds, it's Chrissy. I just wanted to say, I didn't know what to expect, Chancellor Tidings, and I have to tell you, it was a tremendous day. Teresa Duncan, if you don't get excited about nuclear energy after hearing from her, you get super excited. I was so impressed with the attendance, with the panels. I'm a dirt person. I know about real estate and construction and operations, but I felt like, and someone said this earlier, I think it was Dr. Sisk said, you felt like you walked away with a PhD in nuclear energy. And I did feel that way when I left. It was just tremendous. So congratulations to all those that put it on. And man, I think you made such a great decision, Chancellor, in selecting Teresa. She's amazing.
If I could
That's
add
great.
one thing, going back
please,
to
David. Oh, it's
He
Kyle.
worked-
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. And I think Miles will back me up on this. TN Works, that is fantastic that we've all come together to do that. Because when you work with companies looking at this state and work with existing industries, chambers the size of Jackson and Miles's group up in Kingsport, we are able to manage that process because we've got a large enough team. A lot of our rural communities don't, and it's been tough for them to manage all the resources. This is going to help us, but it's particularly going to help the rural communities in terms of workforce. So just big high fives to everyone that was able to put that together.
You know, I can tell you that one of the reasons we have Tennessee Works is because our chancellor, Dr. Tidings, has been screaming from the top of her lungs, from the top of a tower for the past 8 years that this needs to be done. So I'm also excited that we finally got it off the ground.
There may be some other states south of us that have done this a little bit better for a while. And
not now.
That will no longer be the case. That's right.
They have been eating our lunch because they were doing
That's right.
And we are going to do it better. So
Right.
No longer will they be the #1 in the country.
Thank you, Kyle. That was great perspective. Thank you. Anybody else? All right, great report, Vice Chancellor McCormick. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to learning more along the way and to hearing from Chris Perkins in December, who's always so enthusiastic about his work. Much appreciated. And speaking of enthusiasm around their work, and I think we get our Executive Vice Chancellor back, along with Vice Chancellor Jothany Reed, to talk to us about some updates and programming and the academic affairs side of the house.
Great. Thank you, Regent Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, and members of the board. The first opportunity I wanted to highlight here are faculty externships. This work came to us in this opportunity from the Chancellor, who really wanted to see a more seamless integration between the work that teachers are doing to ensure learning and ensuring that learning translates into workforce readiness. So we have developed what we are looking at as one of our most strategic innovative approaches to aligning instruction with industry. These short-term paid internship style experiences that we're going to talk about will really allow faculty to work directly alongside leading and local employers, gaining that firsthand exposure to current industry practices, technologies, and workforce expectations. We will talk to you about this two-way exchange where faculty bring their instructional expertise to support employers in solving real-world challenges, while industry partners are also providing those valuable insights to help shape classroom curriculum and strengthen this talent pipeline. Together, we want to make sure these partnerships ensure our students learn exactly what employers need today and what they'll need tomorrow. In just a moment, you will hear more about this model, the benefits, and the engagement strategies that will make this new externship model successful and scalable across the state. And this model will also strengthen Tennessee's workforce ecosystem by ensuring faculty stay connected to evolving industry standards, so classroom learning really translates directly into career readiness. At this time, we will hear from Dr. Robert Den, our Associate Vice Chancellor, and Shatira Hall, our Curriculum and Workforce Strategist, to talk through the model. And then Dr. Kim McCormick will close it out on how her office is working to engage employers into this opportunity. So Dr. Den, we'll ask you to come on now.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Actually, I'll defer to my colleague, Shatira Hall, who's going to give you a primer on the faculty externship model. Shatira?
Thanks, Dr. Den. And so, as Dr. Reed mentioned, faculty externships are that way to strengthen the relationship between faculty and industry leaders. And so as we thought through the conceptualization of what this model could look like, there's short-term opportunities that are built around 3 structures. One is that knowledge acquisition. So instructors can go into the industry environment and learn more about the technology they're using, the updates that they're having to their processes, and socialize that back into the classroom. The second model is really looking at applied theory, the things that they're learning in class, those processes coming into that work environment that they're teaching on, and actually seeing how those things work out and sharing that expertise with industry. And so they get that opportunity to learn from our faculty as well. And then lastly, a model that's built independently between the industry leader and the faculty member for specific customized needs. And so we might find in particular industries that they have a very specific need there. And so crafting that together with the faculty to then integrate that into a particular course. And so these are the models and the overview of what the faculty externship is structured to be, and it varies in duration, and that is that provides the flexibility needed for faculty that might want to teach in the summer or only have a week. And so these are professional development opportunities to strengthen our faculty and to help them grow while serving our industry partners.
Thank you, Shatira. Next slide, please. So how does this work? Of course, Academic Affairs and the Center for Workforce Development are partnering on this model, and in their work, their daily work and their communication with industry and business across the state, they might pitch this idea. Hey, we have this opportunity to engage in all of those activities that Shatira just said. They might come back with, you know what? We actually have a project right now. We're trying to figure out how to, if it's a healthcare business, how to align our healthcare education with new technologies. What can you do for us? What can you provide for us in expertise? We then connect them with the local regional colleges, whether it be TCAT or community colleges, for them to solicit and select a faculty member that could add value to this project. We connect them. Of course, there's some paperwork and MOUs to negotiate for the length of time and the faculty stipend. We bring them together, and then the faculty member is on site working with the employer to learn what they have to give and also to give their expertise. And basically, that's the process model. I'm sure that Dr. McCormick can tell you more about the folks that they've been speaking with across the state. So Executive Vice Chancellor McCormick, I'll let you talk about that now.
Thank you. So Vice Chancellor Reed, Dr. Dan, and Shatira covered the mechanics of how the faculty externship program will work, but I want to take just a couple of minutes to talk about the connection to industry partners where the externships can happen. So currently, we have externships pending with 5 TCATs and 3 community colleges that encompass different academic disciplines and 12 industry partners. Within the External Affairs Office, we all focus on TBR's mission of student success and workforce development. However, we have 2 offices where developing industry partnerships is a key part of their everyday work. As you know, Chris Perkins leads the Office of Strategic Advancement in Athletics, and he's also the Executive Director of the Foundation for the College System of Tennessee. So our most recent industry interest commitments is from some of our Foundation board members, Tony Castro from FedEx, Dan Caldwell from Nissan, who is an early adopter of the faculty externship idea, and Wes Stowers from Stowers Machinery is exploring a faculty externship with TCAT Knoxville in diesel mechanics. And then, as you know, Dr. Sis' focus is on system-wide workforce development initiatives, and this enables him to assist community colleges, academic VPs, and deans with identifying high-value externship opportunities in priority industry sectors. His years of TCAT campus experience allows him to connect the dots for specific TCAT faculty externship experiences with great industry partners and employ scheduling strategies that fit the TCAT's unique academic calendar, because, as you know, their calendar is different from the community colleges. So TCATs have a window where they can do this between trimesters. And then, of course, community college faculty, usually on 9-10-month contracts, would be able to do this in the summer. So the External Affairs team is very proud to be part of this initiative and to help connect industry partners with faculty who are seeking to keep in tune with their needs while we continue to support TBR's mission of student success and workforce development. So with that, Dr. Reed, I'll hand this virtual podium back to you.
All right. Do we have any questions? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Regent Reynolds, I think you're muted.
You're correct. Thank you. what's our capacity with this? Do we start small and grow? What's numbers wise? What do you envision?
So this will often be, I think this will be led by how many employers we can get engaged, because faculty are very excited about it. So Kim, you may want to talk about what is that approach for scaling with the employer part.
Right. And Dr. Sis may want to jump in here, but our thought is we've got two different pathways. One with the larger employers, but sometimes that is more difficult to get, although we do already have Nissan looking into this. But with the smaller ones, where colleges are actually working with their local communities and their local business and industries to be able to build those partnerships individually with their colleges, those are going to be smaller, and they're going to be industry specific and program specific. Jeff, you want to add to that at all?
Sure, kind of a crawl, walk, run. I see. So Shatira and Dr. Den talked about the skills and knowledge sharing aspect of a faculty externship. I can see most of these beginning externship opportunities being exactly that, as we kind of learn our way and make those connections with business and industry. And Dr. McCormick's right. Dealing with the larger OEMs and large companies is a bit more bureaucratic on their side. We can quickly react and pivot and do things. I'm having conversations with Ford about doing this as well. Everything has to go back to Dearborn and be reviewed. And similarly with SK On, their battery partner, that has to go back to South Korea to be reviewed and approved as well. But Kim's right. The smaller businesses, I can get an answer, boom, right then. But I just want to make a point that the connective tissue for all of this is our local colleges. They're the ones that have those daily contacts with those business and industry. Dr. Cheney at Ticket Knoxville, I sent her an email. She goes, boom, I got West Towers. We're going to do this. I got Eagle Bend Manufacturing is going to do this. So the local colleges is the connective tissue for all of this. But again, crawl, walk, run. But the first two phases are going to be really, really quick. I see this taking root and really expanding over the years as we go.
Thank you. Anybody else? It's exciting. So keep us posted.
Thank you.
This is
Thank you.
Deanne DeWitt. It's not really a question for this, but just maybe we've touched on a couple of things that are somewhat related. Nissan is giving President Patrick Wade and I a behind the scenes tour this Friday at their plant. And so if anybody would like to join us, 11 o'clock this Friday morning, there might be room for a couple more. So just thought I'd mention that while we were talking about some of these neat opportunities.
No, thank you. Nissan's a great partner. Dan Caldwell is one of us, so he's a gem. Thank you, Deanne. Anything else on this, you guys? All right. Do we want to go, Dr. Reed, to the Middle Tennessee Healthcare Alliance?
Yes, thank you. Next slide, please.
Thank you.
So this will give you an opportunity to hear a snapshot of what the chancellor was able to share as part of her budget hearing. And this is one of the ways she is answering a question of what are we doing to make life better for Tennesseans. So the Middle Tennessee Healthcare Alliance is really one of our more strategic collaborations where we're bringing together 4 community colleges and 10 TCATs to address the regional healthcare workforce shortages in Middle Tennessee. We are working in collaboration with the Nashville Chamber of Commerce and employers like Vanderbilt University Medical Center, ATA, and Ascension, and others to really target the priority areas around Middle Tennessee. So what's unique about this? Our colleges are already providing healthcare programs to serve their local service area. The unique element is this is the first time as we target this region that we will meet the workforce demand regardless of service area, regardless of what's in your backyard. So for instance, if Vanderbilt needs more of an increase in surge tech programs and the college closest to them does not have the capacity or ability to do it, we will allow one of the colleges in this alliance to meet that workforce demand only for this initiative. And so we're going to blur those very firm service lines because employers just want the workforce demand met. They're not concerned with which college or who's in their backyard. And so the college presidents have come together in collaboration and a great spirit of let's just serve healthcare, and we won't worry about who's in our backyard for this project only. President Shauna Jackson in Nashville State is helping to lead that conversation with the president. And my office is working with her and the chamber and all these employers to really look at how we're building this project out. So if you look here, it just shows you the community colleges and the TCATs that have signed on to participate in the alliance. And the second to bottom row at the top talks about our employers: Ascension, HCA, St. Thomas, Williamson Medical County, Maury Regional Health, High Point Health, and we're bringing in other employers in this conversation. My team, we have now met about 3 times with all these employers in the chamber, done surveys, gotten commits from them around what's going to be important to help us. And they have identified, to go to the next slide, for these hospitals in Middle Tennessee, these are the areas of priority need that they want us to focus on, which is rad tech, surge tech, medical lab technicians, and registered nursing. Sections 1, 3, and 4 will be served by the community college because those associate level programs. And then the TCATs will respond to number 2, the surge techs. Even though community colleges have surge tech, we want to be able to balance this. So the TCATs can also be a part of this work. And so what we're working through now is refining the workforce demand. What is that data across the landscape, so that we know if colleges need to simply expand current offerings, is this a new program, and what's going to be the cost to sustain that. We're also working with employers where they have all committed to prioritizing our colleges for their clinical space so that we can do the rotations. They have all committed to sharing their facilities so that the colleges can open these programs inside the hospital walls. They're very interested in upskilling their incumbent workers, and so they're going to open their doors at no cost for our colleges to come on and actually offer it in that space so employees can go right into that program around their work hours. I want Shatira to come back on and kind of introduce you to the workforce scan that is driving this. As we talk about currently, when you look at these healthcare programs, TBR institutions serve a little under 30% of the annual workforce demand. And that is because there is also universities in this space and lots of for-profit institutions also meeting the workforce demand. But we feel like TBR needs to have a higher percentage because that way Tennesseans are getting affordable, zero to no cost education and training and not going into debt, going to other types of institutions for the same quality training. So the next slide, Shatira will quickly introduce to you what is that demand, and then I will talk about our funding request that the Chancellor referenced in the budget hearing. So Shatira.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. And so as Dr. Reed mentioned, the demand in the areas that our employers have specified, it's not even being met by our 4 years and the other for-profits. So 2 of the areas where that is true is in registered nursing and radiologic tech. And so we've done a parse out of the data of awards in the last IPED cycle, just showing where we land in percentage that we're supplying to the workforce. And so with our schools and the schools that are in this space in Middle Tennessee. And what we find is that there is still a 76% unmet need for registered nursing as specified by these employers of what they're needing annually. And so there's a lot of room in that space to continue to expand our programs. Also in radiologic tech, and the estimation that's needed annually, we're still having 42% unmet need, even though there are for-profit players in this space. So definitely wanting to respond to the needs of those employers as they intend to expand their operations across the state. Because a lot of our employers, although they're based in Middle Tennessee and have clinics here, they have plans to continue to grow throughout the state. And so already with the need and demand where the gap is this wide, we're needing to close that and anticipate further growth in healthcare at this time. And so in addition to these, their med lab tech is an area that still needs growth for that supply and surge tech. And one thing about the TCATs is their surge tech accelerated process is one that employers are really interested in because they're able to get those surge techs a lot faster than the traditional AS degree. So that's some of the workforce demand that we wanted to highlight and just present how big that need is in Middle Tennessee still.
So in looking at those opportunities and our multiple engagement with all of these healthcare employers, and they're showing up to these conversations very excited about this alliance, my office put together for the chancellor a $7.18 million investment proposal. This would allow us, if funding, to launch these new programs, whether we're either doing expansion of current programs, being able to bring on additional cohorts with faculty, or starting a brand new program in the hospital facilities. It will allow us to hire the faculty, purchase equipment, and if needed, upgrade any instructional space around that. If we get this investment, we have calculated that this will allow the Alliance institutions to double their annual healthcare graduate output within 5 years, reduce dependence for Tennesseans on costly out-of-state providers or for-profit providers, and really strengthen our region's healthcare system with homegrown talent. So we think this is a great opportunity to continue responding to the healthcare demand. And I really want to recognize all of the TCAT and community college presidents and their spirit of collaboration to work in alliance and blur those lines of service areas to simply meet the demands of our employers. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time, and thank you.
Dr. Reed, do you anticipate that coming up in our neck of the woods?
Thank you for peppering that. I felt like that's my next commercial. Our goal is, as we refine this Alliance for Middle Tennessee, is that I do want to replicate in all the grand divisions across the state. Healthcare demand, it runs across Tennessee. We're simply starting the model here. You know, I love a good pilot, and then we will take it across the state.
Good answer. You might want to check out Ballot Academy when you get a chance. It's actually run by Jeff Morehouse, former superintendent here in Kingsport and in Greenville. But what Ballot is doing is starting in high school, allowing students to come into their hospitals, certain things they can and cannot do, of course, but they're paying to create that themselves.
Yeah, that's a great reference, and I'm working with Jeff and Ballot on that academy now. So we meet monthly, and we are working as great partners in that space.
Great, thank you. You're always ahead of me.
I knew you would ask that question. I knew you would ask that question. So this may not be the right way to phrase this, but quick follow-up question for the $7 million-ish request. If we aren't able to secure that funding, what can we do without that without that $7 million?
Great question. And so we're looking at multiple revenue options because the hospitals were really transparent that they also have some fiscal restraints, so they can't fund financially. And that's why I was able to negotiate, well, could you open up your doors and give us facility space at no cost? And can you also prioritize us? We will also continue to look at give grants. We have some of the programs coming online just through give grants that go through THEC. Our office will also look at competitive grants that may be able to help support this. Colleges have also been asked to look at their own institutional budget. You know, they certainly bring on new programs all the time that I bring to you all where they're just allocating that within their own institutional budget. So we're looking at 4 or 5 different streams to make sure we can work with this with what we have. But we would love, obviously, to have a more substantial funding to scale that up. And again, as we talk about it, it's going to be a tiered approach, meaning, you know, some of the programs would take more time to start than others because they would have to go through the accreditation process versus a quick expansion. I'll make this up. Nashville State already has it. They just need to add an additional cohort in Vanderbilt's facilities. So we will see this tier over time. But again, their own institutional budget. We will look for grants. We talked about the give grants. I also met with THEC's leadership at the vice president's level to say, are there opportunities where you all even have additional funding from the rural healthcare grants that this may help meet the needs? Because some of these locations of the hospitals will be in the rural parts of Middle Tennessee. I asked my neighbor if they would go to a bake sale. We are looking at all avenues to find the funding to get this done. So again, we're not totally dependent on that legislative ask, but of course that will allow us to scale much quicker and at scale.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for Dr. Reed? I'm sure we may have more questions to come, but this is an important initiative, so thank you for sharing it with us. It too is very exciting. And so keep going. Speaking of yet another initiative, and this one in the Knoxville area, I'm looking forward to hearing more about our Foster Youth Forward.
Yes, great. This was a great one that the chancellor also presented as part of the budget hearing and answering that question, what are we doing to make life better for Tennesseans? So the Foster Youth Forward initiative really represents this strategic effort to connect our young people aging out of foster care directly to high-wage, high-demand careers. At this time, we're going to hear from Dr. Robert Den and President Kelly Cheney on the pilot program that we're starting, that is a collaboration between Knox County Mayor's Office, the START Center, the Department of Children's Services, and major employers, including Stowers Machinery and Harrison. And I think what really is going to make this transformational is that it brings together child welfare and workforce development systems so that we ensure our foster students have a clear pathway to independence and stability by the time they graduate. We want them to have a credential in hand by graduation so they can go out and take care of themselves, sustain themselves. And again, this is a pilot. This is also a goal that we will replicate this across the state. So no pressure on President Cheney, but I think she's got a great synergy with the mayor's office. We've already met with him and she's continuing those engagement with employers. So at this time, I'm going to turn to Robert Den to help frame the pilot, and President Cheney, because this is her baby in terms of the pilot. But again, this is also an opportunity where the chancellor came forward and said, what are we doing for this population? Can we be more strategic to make sure that they are leaving high school ready to go to work so that they can sustain themselves with a life-giving way? So Robert, if you would highlight the next part.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Next slide, please. I'm going to let you all read this and let these numbers sink in. Very sobering numbers. And we have to remember that these are not numbers, but these are children. Can you imagine small children being moved 3 times in a year? And the next slide is no better news. Next slide, please. What basically happens is, of course, they have these temporary homes until they're 18, and then we tell them, okay, you're on your own. And the risks for this population of students are just awful. You see the numbers there. More likely to experience mental health challenges, substance abuse, homelessness, incarceration. Next slide, please. So what are we going to do? You heard Dr. Reed. This is our objective. This is our mission. Higher education is a powerful tool, and exactly how that's going to play out, I just have those first 3 slides with all of the bad news, but the good news, President Kelly Cheney is going to tell you what she and her folks are going to do out there from TCAT Knoxville. So President Cheney.
Thank you, Dr. Den, and thank you to the committee chairs and Chancellor Tidings, Vice Chancellor, for giving us the opportunity to talk about this very important project. You can see that foster care youth aging out is a problem across the state of Tennessee. But in Knoxville, we realized quickly that we have a large problem with young people aging out of foster care with nowhere to go, no credential to get a job, and things were looking really bleak. But how this really came to life, if I could take just a minute to give you the human story behind this, is we have several faculty and staff at TCAT Knoxville that are foster parents. And literally, we were sitting in a meeting one day, and one of our foster parent staffers, her phone dinged, and she said, "My goodness, Kelly, they're asking me to take 2 teenage boys this weekend." And this was a Friday afternoon at 2:00. And I'm not sure, I can't do it this weekend. But the stories kept coming and the phone kept dinging, and we knew that we had a problem. But the good thing is Knox County government and Knox County schools, they also recognize that we have an issue with foster care and students aging out. It's one of those important things that it will elevate our community, but getting these young people into a pathway of a industry credential onto a degree in time for high school graduation is the ultimate goal. And having an employer at the end willing to hire is the most important thing. And
we can change the slide. I'm not sure if I'm to change that or someone else is changing it. But what is interesting in Knox County is the START Center. And you've probably heard me talk about that before, but the START Center is an initiative by Knox County government, TCAT Knoxville, and the ABC. So that's Associated Builders and Contractors. What is happening there is we're already doing dual enrollment in this facility, and it is in a part of town that is easily accessible for those who may not be able to drive from West Knoxville or other places. But the good thing about the START Center is it's filled with TCAT Knoxville instructors. And those instructors are deeply passionate about our community already. So our goal is to launch this program with foster youth in January, but we also realize to do all of that, we have to do some communication pieces that we don't want to target foster students. We don't want them to feel isolated or anything like that. So the communication that we're working on is working directly with foster parents. And that idea came from a couple of our foster parents at TCAT Knoxville, is to work directly with the parents and DCS to educate everyone that TCAT is available. TCAT stands ready to train students in dual enrollment, get them a credential before they finish high school. But the important factor here in all of that is not only awareness, it is also having an employer at the end willing to hire an 18-year-old, even if it's in an entry-level position, until they can get on their feet. So we do have some employers lined up for that. We're excited about it. We expect it to grow with enthusiasm as we launch the program. It's important to note what happens when they have a credential now. They finish high school, they have a TCAT credential, and they're ready to go to work. But where do they live? Where do they go from here? And that's where in Knox County, there's a project called Lumen Flats that is building tiny homes for youth aging out of foster care so that they will have a place of their own, complete with wraparound services and other things just to target these youth and to make sure they are successful. Now, the goal, of course, is to get them a TCAT credential, to get them a job, and we would love to transition them to a higher degree at maybe one of our community colleges. But we have to set the pathway so that these young people know that there is hope. And TCATs are beautifully positioned to give people hope. And we're excited about the opportunity. We're excited to be working with the mayor's office. You'll notice that the industry credentials there are super important. But I also want to tell you about one other thing. It's not on the screen, but I think it's important to mention. There are some partnerships already going on in Knox County with our community-based organizations that is going to jump in and help us with this pilot project. Helen Ross McNabb is already involved. There are some other faith-based organizations that are getting involved. But the most important thing for this group to remember is that these programs that you see on the screen right now are all deliverable within a year. And we think if we can get these students in dual enrollment earlier, sooner than their 11th and 12th grade year, but more like their 9th and 10th grade year, they're going to leave high school with that credential anyway. Why don't we open up programs in the summer so that if they don't finish, they can go directly into the START Center and finish their credential right there, and then have that employer willing to hire. But I would love to invite any of you to our first meeting with the DCS counselors and our luncheon to present this idea and this pilot project. It's going to come up in December, and I will let you know the date if any of you have an interest in coming and being part of that conversation. But it is really a movement that we do believe is scalable statewide. I think each community has to make it their own, but we're willing to jump in with a pilot project that Dr. Reed so dearly loves pilots and work out as many bugs as we possibly can before it goes statewide. So thank you for your time, and I'll field any questions you have.
This is great work. Oh, we have something in the chat from Regent Powers. Oh, now I can't see it.
I can't see the chat either,
Yeah.
but let me
There
see.
it is. Oh,
I can
Regent
say it.
Powers. Please say it.
I wasn't
Aw.
trying to draw any attention. I was just trying to send a note. I'm sorry. I just said,
No, please.
it's so beautiful. I just said, Dr. Reed, Dr. Cheney, Robert Den, I don't have the words to say how much I love this. Thank you for your hard work. What a blessing to have you all in Tennessee and on Team TBR. We need this in Memphis. And there were a bunch of exclamations at every sentence, so I apologized for that.
Not at all. Always beautifully said. So well said. So no, and I agree with you. There's great work done here in Nashville by an organization called Monroe Harding, which has been in existence for well over 100 years. And I had occasion a couple of years ago now to go to one of their graduations, and we had a pretty solid handful of TCAT Nashville students who were graduating from Monroe Harding. So this is, to your point, Nisha, this is sorely needed across Tennessee. It's really heartfelt and very exciting rather. Anybody else? Questions or comments? Kelly Cheney, good job. Dr. Reed, thank you. So thank you. Keep up the good work. Very
Thank you for
important
the
work.
opportunity. We're so excited about it and so appreciative. Thank you.
Look forward to hearing more. Kelly, if you could get that December date to us through Mariah, that would be great.
Yes, ma'am. We will do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, Dr. Reed, you're like Chancellor Tidings this morning. You just keep talking. But it's all good.
I'm now still in Regent Powers work. We do a lot of heart work.
Yes.
So this is also a quick update. Really, I just wanted to give you all a preview to what's coming at your December board meeting as part of the Chancellor's report. And this is also one that she was able to share at the governor's office. But again, Tennessee continues to set the standard in the nation around correctional education. And if you remember, an article came out maybe about 2 months ago where the Institute for College Access and Success, TICAS, they recognized our Tennessee Prison College Coalition as a national model for expanding high quality higher educations in prison, and that it is a story that was compelling because it really demonstrated all of the strong state leadership and cross-agency collaboration. So I just wanted to share 2 highlights. If you go to the next slide, please. Or that might be the next slide. The main thing I want to highlight for you is that we will be revealing our new name there with our logo. The logo will be revealed. The new name is the Center for Correctional Education, which really elevates this collaborative work that we're doing here across the state. And again, I want to ensure the December presentation reflected what we're known for, which is really strong state agency collaboration. So I will be presenting with Christian Potlick. He is the Deputy Chief of Staff in the Governor's Office. And also I will be presenting with Gail Finkel. She is the Assistant Commissioner for the Department of Correction. We also have all of our state agencies sending representation to be there. And Chancellor Tidings will recognize them. We will have representatives from THEC, the Tennessee Higher Education Initiative, that's called THEI, the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, and of course, all of our TCAT and community college presidents that are actually leading this work inside the prison walls. Again, we just want to highlight that we have a very exciting cross-agency presentation with lots of representation for y'all in December, and that the new Center for Correctional Education, that this is not about building programs, but pathways, again, the purpose, employment, and reentry, so that we can help transform the lives of Tennesseans. So looking forward to sharing that with you all in December. And if there are any early questions, I'm happy to talk about that now.
Anything for Dr. Reed on this? Yes, I think I heard a voice. No, perhaps I didn't. Well, again, just more good work, and we'll look forward to hearing this collaborative presentation when we meet next. So, Dr. Reed, anything else for us today?
That's it for today. Thank you. As always, a pleasure to share the great work that's happening.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Very impressive. And we do meet again very soon, December 9, I believe it is. Chancellor, what would you like for us to know about this upcoming meeting?
Absolutely, just that it will begin at 8:30 on December 9th. And everyone, please remember, this is our Christmas luncheon. So please make sure, if you at all possible, can block off enough time to stay for lunch. Mariah and company always does a great job of having a holiday time for us to share. I would like to just go back to one thing that Dr. Reed said, and the question that was posed to us at the governor's hearing was to actually talk about what we were doing to make life better for Tennesseans, which is the reason I had so much to share. And to Regent Powers, I think that, as Dr. Reed said, we need to start using your tagline, the hard work, because that is what this agency does every single day, and you hear it from every one of the individuals that you heard talking today. I do want to thank Dr. Cheney and the work that she is doing. That conversation about foster youth across the state really did emanate with her and with the mayor of Knox County, and the great work that is happening there. So we're very privileged to be able to work with them on what they're doing. But I also like to take a moment and congratulate Regent Makina Davis on the opening of her salon. She's had her grand opening and is hard at work. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. And the flowers are beautiful.
Oh, that's terrific. How's it going so far?
It is going so well. I'm just so touched at all the people that has helped and all the support that I've gotten. It's very heartfelt, and I cannot thank everyone enough.
That's great. So if we're headed through Crossville, we should stop in?
Yes, come see me anytime.
Absolutely. That would be fun. Congratulations.
Thank
I'm so glad Chancellor mentioned that. Hey, Chancellor, I have one quick question for you before we close. All of the good work we've heard about today, how does all of this roll up into the strategic plan so all of us can kind of keep an eye on what's getting done?
Well, of course, every one of these areas in which we're working fits into our pillars that we have in the strategic plan. And as you'll recall, that strategic plan is a living, breathing instrument as we continue to add to it. So all great work that is happening within the colleges, moving those programs forward, adding additional programs. And I'm so glad that the question was asked about how would we fund the Middle Tennessee Healthcare Initiative if we don't get the money. That is sort of our mantra. These are things we have to do. Now, this is what we need to do it, but how are we going to do it just in case we don't get funded? And that's the way that we operate pretty much every day in trying to figure out ways to make it happen. And our colleges are the prime examples of how that happens every single day.
That's great. Thank you very much. Anything else we need to know?
I think that is all for me today and all from our vice chancellors, and we are looking forward to sharing much more with you in December. And as you know, we've always got more to say than we have time to say it.
I think Dr. Reed may have her hand up.
I do. I was just thinking, Chancellor, with the December board meeting, we might want to highlight 15 minutes before the board meeting starts. We will actually have a statewide sign-in between TBR colleges and Belmont University, where we have brokered an articulation for our nursing program to go into their BSN. And so Belmont's president and his leadership team will be there. Along, we're hoping the regions can join in. And of course, all the community college presidents will be there. It will be a very brief 15-minute program, but we will do pictures and a joint press release with Belmont University. So I did want to highlight that because I think that is significant for the state.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Reed. And again, we need to thank Vice Chair Emily Reynolds because she's really the one that got that ball rolling for us with Belmont. We're very excited about that partnership that has been worked out. And that's why we're starting the meeting just a little bit early on that day. So everyone, please try to get there for that. We're very excited to have the Belmont president coming to the signing.
Well, thanks. And don't give me too much credit for that. I was in the easy position of just putting smart people together to make things happen. So thank you. So that'll be fun. A great way to kick off the day. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if there is no further business to come before us this morning. I will adjourn our committee chairs meeting and turn this meeting over to Regent Powers for the Personnel and Compensation Committee meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling the Committee on Personnel and Compensation of the Tennessee Board of Regents to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Chair Lady Powers. I will first start with our board members that are a part of this committee, and then I'll check for other members that may be remaining on the line. Since this is an electronic meeting, there are 2 questions that need to be answered by regents for the record. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. When I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. Regent Burdine.
Yes to both.
Chair Lady Powers.
Yes to both.
Regent Stevenson.
Yes to both.
And Regent White.
Yes to both.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You do have a quorum, but I would like to still check for other board members that may have joined or are remaining on the line. Governor Lee. Regent Bradshaw.
Yes to both.
Regent Branscombe.
Yes to both.
Regent Davis.
Yes to both.
Regent DeWitt.
Yes to both.
Regent Gentile. Regent George.
Yes to both questions.
Regent Harrell.
Yes to both.
Regent Harriman.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Holt. Regent Kastner.
Yes to both.
Regent Emily Reynolds.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Richardson.
Yes to both.
And Regent Spurgeon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We will now proceed to our first and also our last item on the agenda, which is locally funded compensation proposals. And I'm going to call on Vice Chancellor Alicia Fox for the recommended proposals, please.
Thank you, Chair Powers, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor, members of the board. At the June 2025 board meeting, the board authorized a compensation strategy that included the ability for institutions to submit proposals for across-the-board increases or payments on their compensation plan using uncommitted local funds if they had the capacity to do so. Staff received and evaluated compensation salary adjustment proposals from 5 colleges, as well as the system office staff compensation plan, as outlined in your advanced materials and on the next slides. As you may recall, 2 institutions in the system office completed new or revised compensation studies in late fiscal year 25. So this is the first opportunity to submit requests to address those. This slide is showing the individual colleges and the system office and the proposals they submitted. Going from left to right, the second column shows the total salary amount per institution prior to the adjustment. The third column identifies the proposed compensation adjustments, and column 4 shows the new total salary amount with the proposed adjustments. Continuing across the next columns, you will see the percent change these adjustments have on the overall salary budget, what the percent of the institution's compensation plan is currently funded, and the effective date of these adjustments if approved today. Next slide, please. The final slide shows the distribution by employment type, faculty, administration, professional, or support staff, as you can see along the top, for institutions who have submitted compensation plan adjustments. As noted previously, these requests were submitted based on the individual college compensation studies conducted by TBR's contracted third-party vendor. These have been evaluated and reviewed by the system office staff and are recommended for board's approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have regarding these recommendations.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Fox. Does anyone have a question on what she just presented? If not, I welcome a motion to approve the proposals presented.
I'll move for approval.
Thank you. I think that was Regent Burdine.
It was.
Thank you, sir. And do I have a second?
I'll second. It's Tom.
Thank you. Regent White. Any discussion? Okay, then, thank you so much. We will act on the motion. This will require a roll call vote. So, Madam Secretary, you are back on.
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Chair Lady Powers.
Aye.
Regent Stevenson.
Aye.
And Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Is there any other further business to come before the committee today? Hearing none, the Committee on Personnel and Compensation for the Tennessee Board of Regents stands adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Regent Powers. You always make efficient work of the Personnel and Compensation Committee matters. So thank you very much. Regent Burdine, are you ready for Audit Committee?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Thank you, sir. Take it away.
As Chair of the Audit Committee, I'm calling the Audit Committee meeting to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Since this is an electronic meeting, there are 2 questions that need to be answered by regents for the record. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? And second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, the regent can simply answer yes to both. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. And when I call your name, please answer these 2 questions. We'll start with our Audit Committee members and then confirm any other board members who may be remaining on the line. Regent Bradshaw.
Yes to both.
Chairman Burdine.
Yes to both.
Regent DeWitt.
Yes to both.
Regent Kastner.
Yes to both.
Regent White.
Yes to both.
Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum, and I'll now check for our other board members. Governor Lee. Regent Branscombe.
Yes to both.
Regent Davis.
Yes to both.
Regent Gentile. Regent George.
Yes to both.
Regent Harrell.
Yes to both.
Regent Harriman.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Holt. Regent Powers.
Yes to both.
Regent Emily Reynolds.
Yes to both.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Richardson.
Yes to both.
Regent Spurgeon. Regent Stevenson. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Now I'll call on Mike Batson, our Chief Audit Executive. Hard to say. Mike, microphone's yours.
Thank you, Chair Burdine. Thank you, everyone, and welcome Regents Branscombe and Harriman and Holt to the board. Glad to have you. First, Chancellor Tidings mentioned the sunset review coming up next week in that hearing. I do want to thank Julie Vallejo with the Comptroller's Office for her help and assistance in that process, also her guidance. If anybody has any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me and be glad to help with that. First up on the agenda, informational reporting. I'll cover highlights and audit reports and findings, recommendations for this past quarter. First up, the finding and recommendation logs are in your materials. We had, I think, 4 recommendations this time that have been closed for both Dyersburg and for Chattanooga as well as Southwest. So that's good to have those closed. Unfortunately, this time we do have a new tab in your materials on page 7. We haven't seen this in quite a while, the state audit findings and recommendations. We have been fortunate that we have not had state audit recommendations in quite some time. So hate to add this tab, but it is there. First, for Chattanooga State, there was one finding that is a limited official use finding. And for the new regents, limited official use is a designation by state law for weaknesses in internal control that may relate to sensitive areas such as information security. Those are items that we will talk about in more detail in executive session. There were 4 areas for Chattanooga State related to that one finding for 2023-24. Next up, Cleveland State for 23 and 24 had 5 findings, and that includes 1 limited official use finding. Cleveland's findings included the financial statement preparation, the need to improve those processes and review procedures in order to prevent errors. They had quite a number of errors in the financial statements this time. They also had a finding about the failure to correct and timely reconcile bank accounts. This was a repeat finding from last time. They had made some progress there, but that kind of fell by the wayside towards the end of the audit period. The third finding was that they could not provide adequate support and documentation for all journal vouchers. That is something that we have seen before as a weakness. This time it showed up as a finding. And then the reconciliation of student accounts receivable was not done timely or correctly there. And again, I mentioned the limited official use finding that we'll talk about a little bit later. And first, thanks to former President White for his help and cooperation. We had talked to him quite a bit in the last few weeks about these findings. A lot of it centers around a lack of staffing, and as you could read in the finding, staffing without adequate experience or training. They have been working hard to try to get that back up to the levels it needs to be. I think that's still a work in progress. These findings, we're into fiscal year 26 now. Their report was fiscal year 23 and 24. At this late point in getting those things corrected, I would anticipate several of these, if not all, might be repeat findings the next time around, just because we're that far into the next audit period. So that is entirely possible. One of the concerns we talked about with the president is the bursar position. They had eliminated that, I think, a couple of years ago, and state audit mentioned it specifically. We had mentioned that to President White in terms of needing to get that filled. It has not been posted yet. I understand they're going to post that relatively soon, I hope, and get that filled. That's a key position for at least 2 of those findings, the student accounts receivable, as well as the financial statement processes. So I hope they can get that taken care of. I will meet with President Brooks tomorrow afternoon. I'll be in Cleveland to meet with him to kind of cover some of these things that we've seen in the findings, as well as just help him get his feet back on the ground. So good to have him back. He does know the lay of the land there in Cleveland. And so glad to have him back and looking forward to that meeting tomorrow. If there are any questions on the Cleveland audit, I'll be glad to answer those. Again, the findings, we haven't had this discussion in quite a while, fortunately, and hopefully we don't again, but if there are any questions on those, I'll be glad to answer. Okay, turning from that to some good news, we had 4 colleges who had state audits with no findings. Congratulations to Columbia State, Dyersburg, Jackson, and Motlow. All of them had clean audits with no findings. So congratulations to those colleges and their presidents. So great work there. I'm always glad for that news. And that's a difficult accomplishment to achieve. So we appreciate that. We did have 1 miscellaneous external review this quarter. Last time we had quite a few, but a TSAC program review at Jackson State. There were 3 or 4 minor recommendations. There were no potential repayments in terms of financial aid, so that's good news. And we also had 4 federal audit reports this time. Chattanooga State, Pellissippi, Ball State, and TCAT Knoxville. All of them, but Vol State had some minor recommendations and deficiencies. Vol State had a clean audit, so from U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So congratulations to Vol State on that. That is also hard to accomplish. VA regulations are very complicated, and intensive and it can be hard to not make any mistakes. So congratulations to them. Excuse me. Next up, I'll cover internal audits. There are quite a few listed. I'm just going to cover some highlights of those. If you have questions about any of the others, I'll be glad to answer those. The first one I want to highlight is at Chattanooga State Faculty Credential Audit. That's an important one in terms of accreditation, making sure we're where we need to be on that. Chattanooga State had two recommendations. One is that the TCAT and the Academic Affairs Office should ensure that they have complete documentation of faculty credentials loaded timely into their files, as well as any updates to those faculty credentials to make sure those are timely. And also the other recommendation was for instructors that are in the clinical setting, that they be included in the software compliance assist for the college. They had previously been keeping that separate. The recommendation was to compile that into that software also. The next one I wanted to highlight is just very briefly Dyersburg. As some of you recall, we had done HERF audits previously. The last one we did was Dyersburg. There was one recommendation that they correct some information on their website to get it in compliance with the regulations, and they have accomplished that and taken care of those issues. So good work for Dr. Cook and Dyersburg for getting those important things straightened out. The next one is Southwest, a student complaint policy audit. This is their student complaint process, which is important, of course, for SACS accreditation as well as TBR policies. There were three recommendations there. They really didn't find a lot of problems with it, except had recommendations that they have consistent centralized submission tracking analysis and documentation. Linda there recommended that they consider some software for tracking and analyzing those student complaints. I think her audit period was a little over 2 years, and there were about 330 student complaints that run the gamut of anything from administrative issues, parking, those kind of things, to registration, to academics. And that 300 plus in 2 years is probably not abnormal. It is a lot to track. And so I think that's a good recommendation that they do get something in order to centralize those processes so that everything is in one place and can be tracked and rectified as needed. Next up, and I think the last, well, not the last one I have, but at Volunteer State, an investigation update on tuition reimbursement requests. This one involves the VA school certifying officer at Vol State. Under TBR guideline P130, educational assistance, employees at the colleges can receive tuition and maintenance fees covered for up to 6 hours per term on a reimbursement basis. This one, it occurred in summer and fall of 24 as well as spring of 25. For the spring 25 semester, the employee was taking courses at a private university and submitted their documentation at the end of the semester into the spring 25 semester for those 6 credit hours. The documentation included the grade report, the university's billing details, excuse me, and billing activity statement for the semester. HR noted that the employee's billing account included payments to his university account for VA benefits as well as student loans, and the VA benefits covered his account balance in full. His loans were refunded to him. So in other words, he had no out-of-pocket expenses at the university, but had submitted a request for reimbursement there. As part of the investigation, they went back and looked at the previous 2 semesters, summer and fall of 24. He had requested reimbursement for those, and for those semesters, his fees were also covered by VA. And so again, no out-of-pocket expenses for those. For the most recent semester, spring of 25, the school did not reimburse him, but they had reimbursed for the previous 2 semesters a total of $9,108 between the 2 semesters. They have sought reimbursement from him for those expenses, and I understand that he has agreed to a repayment plan that goes through June of 26 through payroll deduction to repay the $9,000 in inappropriate reimbursements there. The audit also had several recommendations in order to help prevent this in the future, sort of clarification on reimbursement and the nature of this policy and the expectations for documentation and what can be reimbursed and what should not. But again, quite a mouthful there. I've covered a lot of information quickly. If there are any questions about that investigation, be glad to answer those now. Thank you. Moving on, I've covered highlights of all the audits in your materials. If there are any questions about any of the ones I haven't covered or anything else in the materials, I'll be glad to cover that before we move on. Next up will be our system-wide audit updates. Very briefly here, we still have 2 openings, one at Cleveland State for internal auditor and more recently at Walters State. We are actively recruiting for those. Walters State, we just really started the search here in the last month, and I know we have several applicants out there, so getting that process started, but I'm hoping we can get those filled as soon as possible. Also, in your updates, we had our annual auditors training conference in October, had some good training there in terms of investigation interviews, administrative duties and reporting, writing effective audit reports, as well as looking at accessibility requirements going forward. So that is it for internal audit updates. Next up would be our review of annual audits and expenses for the presidents and the chancellor. For those of you new to the board, we're required by state law every year to audit the expenses of the president's offices and the chancellor's office. We don't do all of those every year. We're required to do at least 30% every year. So we do a sample of our president's expenses. I determine which presidents are audited sort of on a rotational basis, but we also look at factors such as the amount of travel and other expenses for each president. Have they had a board meeting hosted on their campus? The length of time since the last audit, have there been any other findings related to that in determining what that sample is? And for independence purposes, we don't assign an auditor to audit their own president. We rotate those around where one campus auditor is auditing a different president. This time we audited Dyersburg, Nashville State, Northeast, Roane, and Vol State. All of those but Roane had no recommendations. Roane's recommendations were really sort of clean up. Things were not reported correctly. There was a few minor misclassifications and those kind of things. We did see that really across the board this time. I mentioned that to the Business Affairs Subcouncil a few weeks ago, that even for the ones we didn't audit, our review of those noted just a lot of technical errors, mistakes, that kind of thing, nothing significant, but we want to try to get those cleaned up. So good news on those, that we really didn't have any instances of non-compliance with the ones that we did audit. And that includes, I don't think I mentioned this, president's travel, business meals and hospitality, if they hosted a board meeting, any board meeting expenses, as well as the operational expenses of the president's office. If there are any questions on the president's expenses, I will be glad to answer those. Okay, the next item we have is the review of salaries and budgets for the system auditors. We report this every year at this time. That information is in your materials for each of the campus internal auditors. There are moderate increases this time around. Some of them, as you know, we did a salary study for the auditors a couple of years ago. Still in process of getting those implemented. Some of them have done it over time. So still getting some change there. That accounts for a good bit of the increases that you see. So glad to get those moving. Also, we report the operating and travel budgets for the auditors. That is in your materials so that you know the kind of operating budgets they're working with for their offices. But if there are any questions on the salaries and budgets, I will be glad to answer those at this time.
Any questions?
Chair Burdine, this completes my informational report.
Thank you. And this is, of course, requires no action, but let's continue on to the next section. Mike, still yours.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. The next item is the review of revisions to fiscal year 26 audit plans, which does require a vote. Each year for the new regents, we do an audit plan for the beginning of the fiscal year. We're required by our standards, if we have significant revisions to it, that we report those to the audit committee in compliance with the IIA standards. This time around, we do have several revisions, but nothing significant. It's really, if an investigation came up that displacing another audit that was going on, nothing here that's really a surprise to me or of a concern. We have asked them to include a possible accessibility audit. So some hours were displaced with that as they moved hours around, but really just timekeeping changes and things like that. Pretty routine changes this time around to the audit plans. If there are no questions, Chair Burdine, I will conclude our report on revised audit plans.
Thank you, sir. This section does require a roll call vote, so can I get a motion?
So moved. This is David.
Thank you, David.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll for vote.
Chairman Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent White. Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Mike, back to you.
Thank you, Chair Burdine. Next up is the review of internal audit charters. Again, for our new regents, each audit office has their own charter that outlays their responsibilities, rights, obligations as an auditor, as well as the expectations from the college. In this case, Motlow State has a new auditor, Cindy Ray. We talked, she, I think, had been hired before the last meeting, so we had mentioned her there, but she and Dr. Torrance have signed a new charter, and that's required to have your approval. So Chair Burdine, I turn that over to you. That completes my report on the charters, and that is in the materials, the new charter.
Thank you, Mike. This section also requires a roll call vote, so can I get a motion? Please.
So moved. This is David.
Please.
Second.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion?
Secretary, back to you, please.
Chairman Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
And Regent White. Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Mike, back to you for one more time.
Sorry, my mouse is not cooperating. Next up is review of salaries and staffing for the Office of System-Wide Internal Audit. Again, the audit committee is required to approve the salaries and budget in accordance with the audit committee charter as well as our internal audit charter. I do want to note that we're thankfully, Daniel Porter, who's our part-time investigator helping Jennifer, has agreed to re-up again. So his information is included. The rest of the changes from the prior year are really cost of living increases. In your materials, no significant increases in salaries at this point for any of our staff this year. Again, our experience levels and certifications are there also for your approval. In terms of our budget, there again, I couldn't ask for more. We're happy with that and satisfied with the budget that we have been provided by TBR. Chair Burdine, this completes my report on our system office salaries and staffing, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, sir. And noted 30 years experience there, Mike. That's remarkable. So thank you. So thank you.
It hadn't hit me until I looked up and saw that number. So within TBR system.
Yep, that's amazing. This action does require a roll call vote. So can I get a motion? Please?
So moved. This is David.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Second.
I can second. It's Tom.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Secretary, back to you.
Chairman Burdine.
Aye.
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. This next section has to do with a conflict of interest with me. So I'm going to recuse myself. I'm going to jump off the call. Mariah, if you'll just let me know when I can get back on for the non-public section, please.
Will do.
See you in a little bit.
So thank you, Regent Burdine, and I'll pick it back up from here. Regent Burdine disclosed a conflict of interest that has subsequently been referred to the Audit Committee for evaluation and disposition. As he just mentioned, he has obviously recused himself from consideration of this matter. Miles discussed with and then submitted to our General Counsel, Brian Lapps, an amended conflict of interest disclosure form on September 15. He had learned that his daughter, Nikki Burdine, had business dealings with Jackson State Community College, which was to provide media training for President Carol Rostein. Ms. Burdine has indicated that she might have future similar business dealings with other TBR colleges. So under our TBR policy, the conflict of interest policy for regents, the board considers a conflict of interest to exist when a regent or an immediate family member, which does include a child, has a direct or indirect financial interest in a transaction involving a conflict of a college, involving a college or the TBR system. Thus, a conflict of interest exists. Section 3 of TBR policy, the Code of Ethics for members of the Tennessee Board of Regents, provides that disclosed conflicts of interest shall be evaluated by the board or a duly appointed committee, and the Audit Committee has been asked to evaluate this matter. Our General Counsel, Brian, has spoken with Regent Burdine, who confirmed that Nikki, his adult daughter, is financially independent, that he has no financial interest in her contract with Jackson State, and that if she does have any future business relationship with any entity in our system, he will have no financial interest in those. Regent Burdine and President Rostein confirmed that he did not assist his daughter to obtain a contract with Jackson State. Regent Burdine further commented that he will not in any future way assist his daughter in doing business with any entity in the TBR system, and that if she does have future business dealings with a TBR entity, it will not be a result of his actions or efforts. The General Counsel also reviewed the contract in question, and Nikki Burdine's contractual relationship with Jackson State does not implicate or violate Tennessee Code Annotated 49-8-203G, which prohibits a board member from doing business with a college, but which does not permit a regent's family member from doing business with a college. Following consultation with Mike Batson and with Brian Lapps and a review of the applicable policies, I believe this is a conflict of interest that can be properly managed. And I'm thus proposing to you as the audit committee to adopt the conflict of interest plan that was contained in your meeting materials. Some of you have been on the board for a while, may remember we had a somewhat similar incident occur in 2023, a similar situation that involved Leah Garton, our student regent. Her family owned a local business that does business with Fall State. The proposed COI plan is consistent with what we did in that previous situation. The audit committee confirmed that the regent in question does not and will not have a direct financial interest in the family members' transactions, and that the regent did not and will not attempt to influence any such future transaction. I know you all have had an opportunity to study these materials, but I want to pause to see if you have any additional thoughts or questions on this matter. Hearing none, we will invite
Emily, it's
Yes,
Tom.
go ahead.
Just real quick, no question, but I just wanted to thank Brian and Mike for the professional way that they handled this.
Very nice. Thank you so much. And they did indeed. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you. With that, then, may we have a motion to approve the conflict of interest management plan?
So moved.
For approval.
I'll second.
Tom.
Tom, second. And I'm sorry, who was the motion from?
Deanne, I think I got in there. Whoever.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Regent Bradshaw.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent White.
Aye.
And Madam Chair Emily Reynolds.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you all very much. Unless you all have any other business for the audit committee, this does conclude our public session. With that, we will stand adjourned and move into the non-public session, the executive session. Board members, board officers, and key audit personnel should all have the necessary information to join our next virtual meeting. Thank you all for being a part of Audit Committee today, and we will see you momentarily in the executive session. Thank you.